And hello, everybody. Welcome to Week 15 in the Huddle, the Bucks County Courier-Times and the Intelligencers look at the high school football scene. I'm Kevin Cooney, sports writer here at the Courier-Times, along with Delaware County's favorite columnist, Homer Cosentino. And we'll get to that in a moment. Let's start with the team that's left here. We have one team left here on the first full week in December. It would be Archbishop Wood, who stunned everybody last week with a real heart-thumping win over Pottsgrove. They'll play Selinsgrove in a rematch of last year's Eastern Final. That'll be in Hershey this weekend. And really, Dom, when you look at Wood, they're the team that's flown under the radar for a lot of the season while we've paid attention to Neshaminy, Pennsbury, North Penn. And yet here they are for the second year in a row, the last one standing. What does it say about that program, and what does it say about the group of kids that are playing on this group this year, that they were able to overcome 19 kids that graduated from last year?
I think it says it's pretty obvious what it says, that Wood has really established itself as one of the top programs in southeastern Pennsylvania, period, at any level. What is it, 5 of the last 7 years, I believe,
won a championship.
Won a Catholic League championship. And like you said, to be able to reload like that after graduating so many players really speaks to the depth and the number of players that are good players in that program. And, good programs are always able to kind of overcome that by being able, by they're all hit by graduation losses year in and year out. But to be able to reload and get back at least to the semifinals, again, really speaks to Steve Devlin's ability as a coach and to the depth and quality of that program.
You're looking at their quarterback was gone from last year. Their running back was gone from last year. Their main wide receivers were gone from last year. I mean, this is
a Division I offensive
lineman. Division I offensive lineman was gone. This was a massive, what everybody felt was, okay, they're going to be better. They'll be okay. They're not going to fall off the face of the planet. But for them to get back to the state semis, I think is a testament to what Devlin and that group of coaches have done, really up there. And that's a process that began with Joe Powell, and Art Barrett in the years leading up to this. Against Selinsgrove, what do you think the key is for them right now? Looking at this weekend, Selinsgrove has won a ton of games by huge margins out in the kind of the Midwest of the state, or if you want to call it that.
I think Wood needs to stick with what's gotten them here, which is to play the kind of physical brand of football that they bring. I mean, physicality, I think, at this time of year, as North Penn learned last week, is really what matters.
Right.
And the way Wood has been able to win, they're very strong up front. They're young up front too,
right.
But they've been able to kind of push people around, and I think that if they're able to do that, they can win this week. Selinsgrove seems to be a better team than the one that Wood played last year, so I think it's going to be certainly a big challenge. It's the state semifinals, but it could be a bigger one than last year.
It's a team.
That was a close game last year.
It was a close game last year. It's a team that last year, a lot of the Selinsgrove guys are back from last year. Quarterback's back, running back's back. They're almost the anti-Wood, that they were grooming themselves for this run to see the same opponent. I'm sure has fired the Seals up pretty good. But, Wood at this point, you would be foolish to pick against them because of the way they play. I mean, that game last week, Jerry Wright-Hill refused to let them lose. And the amount of plays he was in, I think the number was 36 out of 42 offensive plays ran through him either as passing or running. It's the simple volume of he right now has become the best leader of the bunch, I think, in the whole region. I mean, he has refused to let this team kind of collapse, because of expectations.
Yeah, and I can't agree with you more. It's just that, again, they're running into now a veteran team that's been there, a team they were as good as Wood was last year in that run. They only beat Selinsgrove by 6. That was a very tough, hard-fought, physical game on a cold night in Hershey. We're going to see it again on Friday. I just don't know if Wood's going to have enough this time.
And that's not anything would take away from their season. It's been a testament that they were able to get back to this level. I think you're right. I think Selinsgrove is the favorite. Would not surprise me if Wood won this game.
Could go either way.
Now that we're going from the AAA bracket, we'll go to the Quad A bracket. We'll talk about North Penn. Dom was there last week. Ridley really out-physicals North Penn. Ends the night season, I think, a few rounds short of what we all thought last week. Last week we were talking about, is this North Penn team as good as the one that went in 2003? This week we're talking about what happened and what happened.
Ridley was the better team, the more physical team. I mean, I think it's easy. It was easy for us a week ago to sit here and say that North Penn was going to probably get to Hershey, probably play Woodland Hills or whoever, because nobody really knows how well a lot of these teams match up year in and year out, because most of these teams play within their league. North Penn had played the prep early in the year.
Right.
They played Liberty, and then they ran through the league. They hadn't faced a challenge. They hadn't trailed in a game since the first
Liberty
half
game.
of that Liberty game in week 1. It was very easy to sit here and say North Penn was going to win, especially given the SOL's history in this spot. But I think that even though the Central League from top to bottom isn't necessarily strong, I think it's certainly apparent now that Penncrest and Garnet Valley
Right.
are probably as good as any
rise.
other teams in District 1.
Right.
And these were teams that gave Ridley battles during the season. Garnet Valley actually beat them. It's clear that those battles prepared Ridley for this game more so than the easy road, so to speak, that North Penn had in the regular season. Both teams then ripped through their 3 playoff games getting into this. But I think, it's time to give some credit. We had given credit a few weeks back to the Chestmont League
Right.
for winning 4 games the first weekend. It's really time to give some credit to the top of the Central League.
The Ridley, Penncrest, Garnet Valley.
For what they had this year. But Ridley was as physical a football team as I've ever seen.
Which leads to the question, obviously, you wrote your column on Saturday on the web, Sunday in the paper about the chop block of Ralph Reeves. One, are you surprised by the fallout on that? That a lot of people have been talking about whether it was a chop block, whether it was legal, whether it was deliberate. And 2, should there be more of a look at the way games are officiated in that sense? He was flagged, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But should there be video review by District 1 in cases like this going forward?
I don't know that it needs to go to that extreme. I mean, just what bothered me that night was the fact that you had an illegal play. The kid was flagged
Right.
for it. That resulted in a player, the best player on the field for the opposing team, getting hurt. That's just something that, it's troublesome. And,
Right.
and it raises some red flags, in all sorts of ways, and no one will know for sure.
If it was deliberate or not.
Right.
The only person that knows is the kid who did it.
Right. But I certainly think it's not something you want to see happen, I guess. And
Right.
and really, you had mentioned the Homer thing, but I think it's
Right.
it's the kind of thing that if it wasn't necessarily a Homer thing, if this had
Right.
happened, if North Penn had done this to Ridley, and there had this sort of thing, it would have been worth questioning or calling out.
Right.
And that's the only point I was trying to make.
And just because it happened, Ridley to
Right.
North
But
Penn.
right. And even beyond that, however, take that play out of the mix.
Right.
Ridley beat North Penn up in a
Yeah.
clean way. They were just tough and physical, and they had the speed to match North Penn on the outside, and that's why they're still playing.
In the end, if Ralph Reeves is there, does the outcome change?
Probably not.
Probably not.
To be honest with you, probably not. I mean, I think it's just it jumps out at you that you had an illegal play with a kid getting hurt. But the bottom line is Ridley had enough with what they did in that game that they probably still win that game.
As we wrap up here, no 4 downs this week. We'll be back next week, by the way, with our season finale, by
Yes.
the way. I know you'll be heartbroken.
Yes.
To break. I know. But final question. All right, give me a quad A and a AAA final right now.
Quad A and AAA final. Quad A. See, this is tough because I would have said Woodland Hills last week, but I guess they had some
Woodland
guys
Hills,
hurt and got beat. So, again, nobody knows. And it's easy to sit here and say so and so is going to win, so and so. But if you're going to put a gun to my head and pick a team to win, I'm going to have to. I'm saying State College and Ridley.
Okay.
In Quad A, and for AAA, I'm going to have to go Selinsgrove and West Allegheny. I could be wrong.
You could be wrong. I'm gonna go.
It's happened before.
I'm gonna go Selinsgrove. I'm gonna go Selinsgrove, West Allegheny in the AAA. I'm gonna go with LaSalle, me being Mr. Pickle,
right?
Against probably State College. I think State College right now is playing really well, and we don't see a lot of them. And of course, the upset of McDevitt this week kind of opened up the other half of the bracket. Weird year in Quad A. Anyway, that's it for us this week. We will be back next week with the grand season finale. Major surprises, perhaps a visit by Santa. For Dom Cosentino, I'm Kevin Cooney.
You dressing up? Perhaps, right?
Perhaps.
Yeah. Okay.
For all of us here, I'm Kevin Cooney. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.